Okay, quick recap of the day. Um, was a bit everywhere today, but cannot really like be unhappy with how I played, to be honest. Um, Went to play the Millionaire Maker WSOP. Um, Decided to register late, so I registered on level 7, the hour level, so they're quite long. Blinds at the time were 800, so started with well over 30 bigs, so plenty of play. Unfortunately, played really fast. The first table I went on, I mean, every hand that I played that was, like an ace queen, ace jack, a couple of sort of suited cards that I played, didn't really get anywhere with them. Um, the hand that I busted on was I defended with my big blind with King 6 offsuit um, to a mid position razor. Flop came 7, 8, 9. Not the best really to continue on, but after I checked, the guy bet really small. So I'm like, okay, well, let's just see a turn and see what happens. Turn came a blank. I could wrap all of those, so I decided to lead out on the turn for like a quarter of the pot. So not a huge bet, probably something like 3 bigs. He thought about it for a while and he called me. Now the turn card brought a club draw. Unfortunately, however, not that I knew at the time, my straight comes on the river, but it's a 5 of clubs. So I've got the bottom end of the straight. I'm pretty sure I've got the straight. There's no chance that I'm up against 10 jack or anything like that. But it is a club. I've got about 14,000 behind. So about, yeah, close to 16, 17 bigs. I'm not going to really fold to a big bet on the river. So if he's got the clubs, he's got the clubs. So I shove, and yes, unfortunately, he had ace king of clubs, and it went one around of clubs for him. So that was my first bullet. I was at the Horseshoe. I quickly went to online rebuy. So I went and got my ticket at the Horseshoe. So there was a little booth, got my ticket out, and it said, go to Paris. So fuck, I had to walk all the way back to Paris. Got to Paris, got to my seat, probably a good 20 minutes after I'd bought in, because it was a fairly long line. And I literally sat down in the seat that somebody had just busted from as well. Actually, no, I came into the small blind. I was going to miss the hand. This is the funny part about this. I walked into the small blind, but the big blind had just busted, and he was big blind on his own. So somehow I got dealt in on the button. Okay, I looked down. I got 2 red kings. It's folded to me. I make my raise. At this point, the blinds are 1K, 1K, so I raise to 2.5. Big blind. Obviously, I know nothing about the table. Raises to 7.5K. I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, I'm either shoving here, or should I just wait and see to avoid an ace and play it from there? I usually like to slow play when I'm new to a table. I just want to control what happens on these streets. Anyway, I decided to call. Board came pretty benign. All like it was 10 high. It was 7, 6, 10 offsuit. I can't put him on any of those cards. He's either got ace king or some higher pair, perhaps. So at this point, he leads out fairly large. He bets the same, but my half pot, like 8K. And I have a decision. What am I to do? I've got kings. There's not a lot of good cards that can come on the turn in rivers. So I'm shoving. I shoved. And of course, he turns over the aces. And that was my journey into the Millionaire Maker. So And apparently the Millionaire Maker this time had the largest field of anything. So it was pretty stacked. It was like over 5,006 or 700, something like that, something ridiculous. That was actually today, but yesterday was even probably bigger field. So at this point it's 6 p.m. and I'm aware that there's a turbo bounty at the Wynn, which I really like playing there. So I decided, all right, let's go. Booked it over to the Wynn and jumped into the 1100 turbo. 20-minute levels, you get 25k to start with. I got there on level 3. Yeah, level 3. And again, very quickly, pick up a hand, picked up ace king in mid position. I raise to 1500, 1600. I get a call. No, actually, no, that's not how the hand went. Sorry, quick redraw. There was an under the gun raise to 1600. I make it 3.5k to go. I get a flat call from someone on my left, on my direct left, and I'm puzzled. But obviously, it's not unusual. It is a turbo. People are going to play. The original raiser folds. So I'm like, okay, fine. Board comes king 8-8. Obviously I'm going to take the lead here and put some money in the pot. I bet half the pot. The dude raises me, and of course we go all in. I get a snap call. I'm like, okay, we could possibly have the same hand here, but I should have you dominated a lot of times. What he turns over is 7-8 offsuit. So unfortunately, that was instantly my first bullet. I was again very, very close to my first hand playing at the table. I quickly went back and got my second bullet. Came back, sat down. That was a break actually, so I had a 10-minute break. Not that I needed to cool off. It just happens. Sometimes, that's what happens in tournaments. You just, buy in and you were either there for a long time and something happens. But yeah, I was happy to fire again. The second bull went much better. Had some decent hands where I just won without showdown. Then I got to one of the hands where I chipped up really well. So I built my stack from 25k to about 30 something. Quite happy. And this hand comes on where I've got ace king again under the gun. I raise, I get a call, and then the big blind decides to 3-bet me, and he 3-bet me pretty big, 10-5. And at this point I'm thinking, oh shit, like this guy, I've had battles with him, but I've beaten him every single time. What's going on? I'm never folding the ace king, so I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm shoving it. The rebuys were still available, so I could go and rebuy if I needed to. The dude snap calls me, and he turns over 9-10 offsuit, and the whole table and myself included were like, what the fuck? Yeah. Anyway, luckily, I survived. I doubled up I had 38k something, and he doubled me up. And I was like, what, you haven't stepped out of play. What are you doing? Anyway, he couldn't speak English, some other Korean guy. Anywho, went on, had a good break after that. And literally again, first hand after the break, I come back in the big blinds. The blinds are 1k at this point. I've got 90, just under, I literally have 90,000. And there's a Korean girl next to me, playing pretty snug. She's always had, she played a few hands, and every time she had aces, kings, and queens. So she knocked out a couple of players, so very quickly, I know the type of player she is. She's always going to have something decent in her hand. So she makes a raise under the gun. There's a caller right after her, and it comes back to me. I've got ace-10 of hearts. Very defendable. I call the extra big blind. And we see a flop of 2 hearts with an ace of spades. I'm locked into the spot. I mean, obviously, there's, you know, there's hands to be seen, and those ones are ones you want to go with. So, and I'm checking to her to see what she does, and she puts out a fairly small bet. So this indicated to me that, and the other guy gets out of the way, comes back to me. I decide to raise. I want to get as much money in there as I possibly can. If she's got a real hand, she's going to continue. If she hasn't, then it's over. I pick up whatever the pot is at this point. But if she has a real hand, I want to be able to be in a spot where I can double up and take a good slice of her chips. I raise. She bets 6K. I make it 21. At this point, she knows she's up against the hand, but for some reason, she tanks and calls. Okay, and the perfect card comes on the turn, which is a 5. At this point, I'm not worried that she has an ace. She was the type of player that if she did have an ace, like a big ace, she would have definitely shoved all in on my check raise bet. So I bet 21 again on the turn card, or 5, and she doesn't take very long and she goes all in. Oh, the worst feeling ever. I literally thought about it for maybe 4 or 5 seconds. I'm like, could she really have slow played aces? Like, it just doesn't seem right, But I still have outs, and we were very close in chips. So anyway, I end up making the call, not really happy about the call, and she turns over a turn set for set of 5s. And I'm shocked, but I'm not that shocked. It happens. She wasn't ever going to get away from that turn turn hand. Anyway, she takes out this big pot, and I'm left with a $500 chip. So I had her just covered. So it would have been a nice spot to actually, take her out and be in a really, really sweet spot to have a run at the end. Anyway, that was the last hand I played. Pretty gutted from that. I really wanted to run deep in this one. But plenty of opportunities to go. There's so many tournaments in Vegas, not feeling terrible about the way I played. Every hand I played, I was, in front or head close to what the nuts is. So can't complain. Put my money in good. Just didn't run well when I needed to. And just a note on trying to chip up in these tournaments that are super turbos. You really have to go for your hands and your spots. Previously, I would be very, very tentative, and I would value bet a lot, and I would try and see, play very conservative basically, and not really take advantage of the hands when I had them, especially heads up. So the thing that has changed with me especially is that if I've got a hand that I want to go with, and I kind of make up my mind pretty quickly how I'm going to do that, I will not be shy in trying to make chips. So with these, especially with these big field tournaments, you want to be in a position where you're stealing a lot of blinds when it's close to the money. You want to be putting a lot of pressure on players. And the only way to do that really is to take advantage of these spots when you do get them, is to try and double up or build a big, nice, powerful stack. So no point in getting into and limping into the money. It's good to be consistent and good to make that kind of play, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get too many run deeps. Even when I've done well and cashed in the WSOP, and I've had a few sort of spots where I've got 20 or 30 bigs, they're the perfect kind of size to try and push your weight. And I've busted a few tournaments with 20 and 30 bigs recently, whereas before I would be very conservative and would let go a lot of hands and not play them aggressively enough. So then I would get to a position where, we're in some late stage of the tournament, but I'm really super short, and I'm trying to grind my way and try and stay in the hands and try and stay on the table. And then eventually you get cornered and you just lose. So the difference is, yeah, from now on, basically, my advice is just take your shot, go for it. There's no point sitting back and waiting for a better hand to come. If you play correctly and you isolate your opponent and you go heads up, it's your hand against theirs. Hopefully, you can outplay them, outflop them, outriver them, whatever the case might be. But you got to put your money in there and try and develop a big stack, and then be able to be tighter later on and manage your stack and try and steal and try and build it. So. Yeah, it's more advice for myself, if anything. But so far so good. I can't complain. I'm taking the shots that I need to take, and yeah, playing okay. Tomorrow will be a big day, I hope. There is a 1600 at the Wynn, which has $1 million guarantee, which is fucking amazing. It's a 2-day tournament, so it's awesome. The Wynn has a lot of very, very good players. I've noticed that there's a lot of Aussies there. There's a lot of Europeans there. Some of the guys who've won bracelets at the WSOP are there playing. Their cash games are pretty big, so pretty decent poker room to play at. Yeah. Anyway, I'll update again.